Hello and welcome to the RPG Academy podcast. I am Michael, and tonight I'm here with a special bonus edition of the podcast. We're going to do a live recap show with my dog barking upstairs from our recent trip to GenCon. So we're going to talk about best moments, maybe worst moments, favorite games, favorite food, maybe some lessons learned, and maybe at the end there might be a small rant about possibly the worst game I have ever played. But before we get into that, we're going to introduce all the people that were there with us this time. I'm going to start on my left. So Michael, say hello to everyone. Introduce and share your Twitter handle if you would like for people to find you on Twitter.
Sure, yeah. I'm Verjaeger1. Figure out how to spell that. I'm not going to explain it at all.
Yeah.
On Twitter, longtime gamer, and I don't know, what, 7th time to GenCon? 6th? Yeah.
I honestly don't even remember. It's sad.
Yeah.
I'm old. My memory's faded.
A math above one hand, so.
All right. And then to your left is Rocky. Say hello to everyone.
Hello, I am Rocky, and I am at Laughing Joker on the Twitters. It's going to be LAFFINJOKER. This was my third time at GenCon. I've actually had probably the last 3 years, I think, off. And I had 2 times in a row, had the last 3 years off, and then I went this year. So.
All right, and then to your left is Brad.
Hey everybody, I'm Brad at Force and Destiny. How are you tonight?
So far, no one's there to respond, but I will assume everyone listening in the future is great.
That's 100% success ratio. Right?
That's right. And then to your left and my right is Ryan.
Hey everybody, Ryan, otherwise known as Teleporter on Twitter, and I think this was my first full year at GenCon.
Nice. So before we get into the show, I'll just take one quick moment, as always, to try to remind people that we are having a Twitch follower drive giveaway thingy. So once we get to 500 Twitch followers, which we're like 330 right now, I'm going to give away a copy of the D&D Rules Cyclopedia through the Drive-Thru RPG print on demand. It's like a $30 book or something. So once we get there, I'll just do a random drawing out of the 500 people, and one of you will get that sent your way. All right, so with that out of the way, I'll start with you, Ryan. So this was the first year you've gone with us.
Yes.
So
well,
have you ever been to Gen Con at all?
Yeah,
before?
I had been to Gen Con, I think, on Family Day.
Okay.
Once, and it was fantastic. This is the first full year I got to go. I went with, I hung out with you guys as much as possible, but fortunately we have a gaming group in the area that paid for me to be there.
Nice.
Which saved me a ton of money. So this is my first time running games at Gen Con. So basically first full experience of everything. All
right, so on a scale of 1 to 10, where did your first full Gen Con experience fall?
It was a 10. It was awesome. I don't think I really even had a bad part of Gen Con. No horrible games. Food was great. Never caught the crud.
Me too, actually. Knock on wood. I did not get sick this year.
Yeah, so had some.
If you don't get the kidney stones that I took
good
with
roommates, ran some really good games, got some really good feedback.
Okay, so what was your best moment when you think about the entire experience? Is there any one moment that sticks out as I'm glad if this was the only thing that happened, it would be worth the trip?
Yeah, actually, so it was my validation moment as being a GM. I run some reskins of D&D 5e on a regular basis. I do it for a couple groups here around the city, different times, and for the Academy. And I had a longtime Transformers fan play in one of my games on Saturday, and he liked it so much that he bought an extra ticket for Sunday that he was not even going to come to Gen Con. He had a pass, but he bought tickets specifically extra to play in my game on Sunday because he liked it so much. So
it's a
obviously,
good feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is a really good feeling considering I had scheduled for 5 people and I had 7 show up to that game, counting him. So yeah, validation, and I know I'm doing something right with Transformers, which I'm a huge fan. So that makes me proud and knows I'm on the right track. And apparently, I run a good game. So
awesome.
that was my light bulb moment where it's like, oh, this is awesome.
And speaking of Transformers, you had a chance to playtest and purchase the Transformers card game.
I did, and it's not in the box, and I'm sorry, but it's in here because I've been playing with my kids, and it is really fun, and it's run by Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro Magic, all the same kind of creators. Cards are awesome. Game is super easy to play. When it comes out in September, yeah, I got it beforehand, and a bunch of the promos because yeah, I got that too. That happens when you play test a game like 4 times.
Yep. So we'll probably play that at some point and maybe do like a mini review or something in the future.
It's fantastic. It's really fast. It plays pretty easy. I mean, my 5-year-old gets it and actually kicked my butt the other night. So yes, that was one of my purchases along with a few other things. Dragonfire.
Is that similar to GoBots?
Don't do that.
Cop tour.
Yeah, don't do that.
All right, so we'll move to your right. So Brad, you've been every year that I've gone, right?
I think one less. I
Okay.
think because you guys went that first year,
That is correct.
and life happened, and I wasn't able to go or something like that.
Yeah. But from then on, we have always gone with you, not just because you have a friend who gives us a cool hotel room, but because you're a valuable member of the academy.
Yay.
So you've been there plenty of times, but this year, 1 to 10, rate your Gen Con experience.
I had a really good time. All in all, there were some good, fun low moments in there. There were some high moments. You know what? It's going to be a solid 8. I'm
Okay.
gonna call it a solid 8.
So what was the one thing that if nothing else had happened, you still would have been worth going for? What's your top moment?
Well, there was one thing that happened, and you see that right there? See that thing, that bucket? Do you see it on the shelf?
That bucket
Give me
there?
that bucket.
This bucket.
Yeah.
Camera, this bucket right here on Michael's shelf, full of a bunch of dice.
So, I've been in a bit of a gaming funk lately, okay? And at Gen Con, I definitely had some gaming funk moments there. But I realized something, that what I needed to do was go back to my roots and deal buckets of damage. That's exactly what needed to happen, was dealing buckets of damage. And I got to do that in an X-Crawl game, and it was fantastic.
Awesome. Go ahead and turn that around. I want everybody to see my grape Laffy Taffy issues.
Buckets of damage.
Yeah.
Buckets of damage.
More damage than Pittsburgh has buckets.
That's right. Pittsburgh ran out of buckets for all the damage.
And that
done.
was part of the X-Crawl game, correct?
Yeah.
Yes,
So
it
for
was.
anyone who isn't familiar, what is X-Crawl?
It's a dungeon crawl classic setting. Basically, it is the elevator pitch would be that in the future there are no professional sports. There is dungeon crawling, and it's a combination of American Gladiators and wrestling and dungeon crawling.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Blade Runner.
Yeah, it's Blade Runner.
Blade Runner Fantasy.
Blade Runner Fantasy.
Well, again, I was thinking of it. Isn't it more like the Running Man with Schwarzenegger?
Or no,
Yeah,
Running Man. My bad. Wow.
Okay.
Messed that one up.
10,000 Blade Runner fans. Just
Yeah, I was like, because one of you,
When you said that, I'm like,
yeah, and
what?
one of you had said that before, and I was like, I don't remember Blade Runner at all then, because I was like, I don't understand how that works. So okay, so
No, in fact, Harrison Ford's best movie.
Oh. All right, and we will circle over to your right. So Rockstar,
Hello.
so again, you kind of, jump to the end. You've been to 3 Gen Cons now. So scale 1 to 10, how did this one fare?
I would probably say this was my best Gen Con experience, but that's probably because of Michael. No, it's not. But probably because I kind of knew what to do, and then also because of Michael and the person who he brought, another Michael. I actually bought a lot of my tickets from them, and they kind of introduced me to the world of Cthulhu, which I went like deep
Yeah.
with Cthulhu stuff. I bought almost
You
everything.
usually do that, Rocky.
Yep. So I got the Keeper book for 7th edition, and then I got the guy there was great. It was I
Because
don't
you were
even know
spending
how
a
to
lot
say
of
it.
money.
Is it Chaosism or
Chaosium.
Yeah.
Chaosium? Okay, so the guy there was great. Like, he helped feed my new fetish. He threw in some adventures for me because I got all the books and everything, and then I got the cards, and I actually got Lovecraft Letter, and then because we like that, I got the premium edition of Love Letter. But we played Lovecraft Letter like almost every day. I got it the first day on the Thursday, the first day of the actual con, and then we played it like every day, either when we were eating or back at the hotel or whatever. So it was a great game. But I played in my first U2 King Cthulhu game, even though they'd been to a Catacon when it was out at the Lodge in Houston Woods. I ended up playing in that, and that was brilliant. I really enjoyed that. And they gave a packet, which I think I left at my house, but they gave a nice packet that had the starter rules for the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu, which was really good. They also gave like coupons, and they gave advertisements for different conventions and stuff like that. So it was good.
Chaosium supports them. They get stuff to give away through their games. which
and
is
it's
just one of
probably
the many reasons to play their games.
and I would say it's probably because they do such a good job. So like they really know what they're doing. Like the DM's running it. Like they know the module that they're running. Like and we stuck to the time, and which is always hard. Like especially I don't book a lot of games, so it wasn't as big of a deal to me. But it was really good to finish on time because it meant that you could get the other people who had finished on time, and then also if you had another game, you could go to it. And then probably one of my tied for my best experience as well was what are they? Grail Games. So Kashgar, Merchants of the Silk Road, was actually
He doesn't get paid.
I don't actually. But
It's just a mask, otherwise known as
my
Vano.
PayPal, I can tell you. Flash out on the screen. But yeah, with Kashgar, I actually went to Grail Games to try to get this game because it originally was in German, and they were saying that they weren't going to put it over to English, and then finally, I think early last year or something like that, they finally agreed to, and then Grail Games picked it up and converted it to English. It's basically just an open deck builder where but it's also got you've got 3 decks, which are your merchants, and you have to build them up and stuff. And turns are really fast. And the reason I like it is because when I went there, they were sold out the first day, because the first day I ended up getting in a Call of Cthulhu game. You're welcome. So I ended up missing it. They were sold out, which I figured would happen. So I went back the second day, and when I went back the second day, the guy actually remembered me, and he said they were getting more in the afternoon at 3 o'clock. So he said, because I'd been trying to get it and stuff, he said he would hold me a copy. So if I came back at around 3 or whatever, and that's what he did. So when I got there, I ended up getting the game, which was really nice. So it was great of them to, I mean, it was really customer focused, and I like that. And then we ended up playing the game, not that night, but the following night. And I really enjoyed it. So it's really fast. Like the turn, all you do on your turn is just pick one of your merchants to take a turn, and then you put them at the end, and you're done. So, and it goes like that until someone has 25 victory points, and then it's over. So it's a quick game. And obviously it's quicker when you know what you're doing. But how long did it take us? Maybe an hour and a half or something. But
6,
7 hours at least.
Probably 12 with the backstory I provided for each merchant.
Yeah.
But no, it was really good. It was a good game. And then I also picked up Good Critters.
Rocky, would you say the game's quicker than your recap?
Yes. And then I also picked up Good Critters.
So I'm going to mute Rocky's microphone. We will come back
What's
to
this
you.
music? What's the music? Well, I'm not done yet.
You're on hold.
But yeah, then
Sadly, Michael hasn't even got to talk yet.
Yeah, I picked up Good Critters,
Well,
which
we're
is
out
a
of
great
time
game,
today. Thanks for
and
listening
haven't
to the
got to play it
podcast.
yet. But I really like Good Cop, Bad Cop, and it's kind of got some similarities and stuff, but it's really a completely different game. It's probably closer to Cats and Guns, but yeah. All right, I'll be quiet. Microphone on,
All right,
but-
and to your right, my left, Michael, who has not been on the air in a while. I think you did. Did we do a recap last year? I think we did.
it's probably because I was just talking. too
Probably,
much.
yeah.
I'm
Never
a
got to
consummate gamer.
Yeah.
I don't have time to record.
So you were. I think that's the last episode you were on, and then before that you were on a couple. So you're not a known face to many of the people who will hear or listen to this. So give us the short pitch. Who is Michael?
I've been gaming for 14 years. I started where you should. On
Excuse
Your Best
me,
Friend's
that was
Board,
strange.
Playing Dungeons and Dragons, and then picked it up, and I was like, "Well, this is better than video games." And then just kept doing that forever, and then I started GMing, and same old story. And now I game like 4 times a week, like more than I should.
4 times more than you should, or 4 times more than you should?
4 out of 7.
4 out of 7
Both.
days a week.
All right. So
enough.
Tom says you need to talk into your mic more.
Oh,
You're-
I need to talk into my mic. Okay.
Yes.
I'll get really,
Hi, Tom.
I'll get very comfortable. We'll get very Saturday night something theater. We'll get back to Rocky's game corner in a second.
Because I did forget a game actually. But
Yeah.
go on.
I'm all bass in my voice, so it just doesn't. Pick
All
up.
right. So this is your 5th Gen Con, we think.
6th or 7th, I think.
All right. So 1 to 10. How did this one rank?
I'm gonna go with 9.
All right. All
Both
right.
a 9.
So what was the moment that if nothing else happened, that alone happened would have made it worth going?
Game related.
Yes.
PG-13
game related.
So it's just like we've talked about this for I think a couple years now. My favorite thing is the event, and I'm pretty romantic about gaming. Like I think it's a good thing that people do. But if it's an event, like finally seeing Brad get out of do buckets of damage, that was great. We got into like a 2-player game, like nobody else showed up, and it was just me and Brad, and I was like, he was worried about it, and I'm like, this is gonna be perfect.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
So we created a tag team duo of the Brewmaster and the American Clench,
That's right.
and it was just off the walls crazy. So that was good. But
what end was the clench? Like teeth end or
my
opposite?
signature move was the oil drill.
We're gonna leave it at
We're
that.
gonna leave it at that.
PG-13, people. PG-13.
Oil, use it for stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Houston Oilers. It's a football team.
Yeah, it's a team. But the real greatest moment is the con.
Are they still a football team?
No.
baseball team?
No.
So the real best thing is the con. It's going to a place where, I see so many people that are, sort of hampered by the habit and like the industry, and like gamer shame is like going away, and some of that's happening. And like I had gamer shame when I was a jock and am a jock, and seeing people that for 4 days, like it's all gaming. People are just better humans. They talk to you in the hallway. They talk to you in the elevator. It's not weird. It's sort of how being a human should be all the time. And that's really the great part about GenCon is going there and just being around people that are just have a passion for life and what they're doing at that moment.
All right.
Hear, hear.
Very cool. Excuse me. So for me, I'm gonna say it probably was a 9. I think the first Gen Con, I don't know that anything will ever top that. Like it was kind of like you when I went there, and I was like, I'm around 60,000 people that are my people. I didn't have any gamer shame. It was just like, this is where I need to be and I belong. Was very eye-opening, which, again, I've said this many times, but a Catacon exists solely for the reason that I had so much fun at that first Gen Con that I didn't want to wait a year to do it again. But this was a really good year. I had several good moments. There's 3 that stick out, and they're going to sound awful because they were all 3 of the events that I ran. So I ran 3 events this year, and again, I know it sounds.
You're a GM by heart, though.
I am. I love to GM. I love to play games, run games for people. I love to give people things to do. When I see people, I've presented a thing for them and they enjoy doing it. That pushes a lot of buttons for me. So we did our GMing panel that I did this year with Shane and Victoria. We sold out. We were supposed to have 200 people show up. I think we got close to 100, but it still was by far the biggest audience I've ever had for one of our GMing panels. It went really, really well. Everybody laughed at the right places and they nodded along at the right places. Shane and Victoria both did a fabulous job. And I just think that we probably help people go back to their table and run games, which is what we're trying to do. And then I ran Scooby-Doo Dread, which is kind of my go-to event at cons. I had a great group, and I don't know if it's the best group, but it was definitely one of the best groups. They all were just so good in character, and it ended in a great way. Had a ton of fun. But probably my favorite event is when I ran Dragon Spine, which is that module I'm sort of working on, hopefully to publish one day. I only had 3 people show up. It's supposed to be a 4-player game. It was a father and his 2 kids. So father was an old school gamer, been gaming, since like 2nd edition, close to my age around there. His younger son was probably, I'm gonna say 8 or 9, though I'm terrible at doing ages. He's probably older than that. And the other son was a couple years older. It was the first 5e game for any of them, and was the first RPG ever for the youngest son. And the Dragon Spine Adventure is designed for new players, so it was just me. We actually even had the room to ourselves, so we were like in a room at the JW, no one else in there, so we could, just kind of take over in a way. I didn't feel like anyone else was talking and kind of covering my voice, so I was able to just kind of really laid back and just let them run the game, which is one of the things I try to do now. I always say, what does it look like when you did that? Why did you fail? Because you shouldn't have failed. Or what does your spell look like? And these kids and that dad were just fabulous. I had so much fun. It ended in the perfect way. And as we were packing up, the youngest kid, I heard him say to his dad, "That's exactly what I thought D&D should be." And I was just like, my heart, like
Keeps together.
swelled and
Grew 10 times that day.
Exactly. The only thing that would have been better if he had said that was better than I thought it could have been.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that would have taken it. But I absolutely.
I like that you're still giving him notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it hadn't ended in a total party kill like that's probably a downer too.
Yeah, that would have been a downer too. Which again just reinforces my belief that is a good module that I do need to keep working on it someday to publish. But my other moment, and I'm sure everyone here probably will follow along, is when we played the Choose Your Own Adventure game.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about that.
This is
House of Danger.
my part of Gen Con.
That
Encapsulated in one moment.
Yeah. So we were playing a game called Choose Your Own Adventure that Brad's good friend Chris had bought, which I've now ordered off Amazon, but it's apparently coming through Mordor because it's not showing up until October.
that's what's coming through.
That's coming, yeah,
Mordor.
through Mordor.
Okay.
Yeah, goblins have short legs.
And it's basically, it's Choose Your Own Adventure in a game form. And we were having a good time. We were laughing, and we had so many people. We were doing votes, and I think we were just being animated enough that we drew people's attention. So this lady who came over, who none of us had known before, just basically walked up and said, "What are you playing?" And we were like, "We're playing this game." And then we just sort of absorbed her into the group for probably a good half hour. She was there participating.
Well, most of that was one particular reason you're going to get to.
Yeah. So one of the things that you do in this game that's different than the actual Choose Your Own Adventure is you have challenges. And sometimes if you want to go through a certain way or do a certain thing, you have to roll a die. You have to get a certain number. And if you fail, something happens. If you succeed, something else happens. And to the point that we got to her turn, we had always passed, like easily. It wasn't even challenges. We rolled, we got it. And I think she even said, "I'm not good at rolling." Right now, it's fine. You only need a 2 or something.
Nobody believed her.
So she proceeds to fail. And it's not a big deal. This particular challenge, you're allowed to try again. Not all of them you can't, but this one you're allowed to try as many times as you want. But every time you fail, you kind of move along this like bad sort of track on the game. If you get too far, it can be bad for you. So we're like, okay, just roll again. It's fine. She failed again. So now the difficulty is getting harder. So now she has to roll like a 4. We're like, well, come on, three times. Failed again.
You do.
So then I think we cycled all the way on the bad track and it went back to the lower number, but then like something else part of the game was now bad for us. So we're like, we'll keep going. Failed again. And so at this point it became like a matter of principle. Like we're like, no, we're not stopping until you succeed.
We forced her to keep rolling. She wanted to leave
And
so badly.
We started like clapping going, one more time. More time. And she tried again, failed. Tried again, failed. On the 7th roll, finally success. And then it was like the best roll of D20 in the right moment. The whole table erupted. Like everyone at that table, there's like 8 of us or 9 of us, we're all just like, ah, and stand up shouting. And it was just like that moment was so much fun. Again, like you said, it encapsulates what Gen Con is about. And I think that was probably my actual true favorite moment of the con. So it's really good.
And it was great because you could see, I was watching her face, you could see the emotional roller coaster that she was on with these die rolls.
Yeah, so she was beside me, so I couldn't see her face.
Who are all these strange guys, and why do they want me around here? I'm terrible still.
Yeah, I was like, why are they letting me keep robbing? Just go for broke.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, the cheer, like she's like, oh, I'm in for 30 minutes.
Yeah, she's there. and just slightly below that, because when you play the game, you draw a card, and the card you read it just like in the book, and and then it has an option for doing left or right or whatever. So we were going around the table letting people take turns reading, and for some reason that I to this day don't understand and maybe never will, when it got to Brad's turn, he dropped into a British accent for some reason. I don't know what that was about. And you were holding your drink, and you kind of held it up almost like an English lord.
Oh, of course. It was
it was just like I even looked. I think I looked at her and said, "Did he just go British? Like, what's going on here?" But
we learned that Brad needs to drink more when he's doing games here at the Academy, so that he does that kind of thing more often. Because it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I really get into noisy person cards and do pretty good with that.
So that was absolutely a great moment.
I did forget my second favorite
All right.
part of it, which is listening to your story.
Okay, we're gonna circle
We'll
back
get
to
there.
that.
But I want it known that I love these stories. I really appreciate. I get a lot out of them.
All right. So we'll go back the other way. We'll start with you, Michael. So lessons learned. Anything that you're going to try to do differently or do more of or avoid in future Gen Cons?
So, I need to do more of the weird stuff, the stuff that you can only do at Gen Con. And I've been saying that for years, and then like what ends up happening is I end up sending for games, and I'm like, oh, all these games that I like. And then I end up doing all those games, and I'm like, these are games that I like. I need to be doing something that I don't like, or that like,
You've never experienced
that I've
before.
Never experienced before that maybe I like, or that because I'm always trying to push whatever envelope. I even asked like my players that I've been gaming with for 6 years. Whenever we start a new campaign or character, I was like, what ruts am I in? Like, what haven't I played? Like, just give me something. So that's one. Do more weird. I'm gonna call it weird stuff because there's a lot of like unique and weird and interesting stuff to do at GenCon.
Like Transformer homebrews.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like Transformer.
Which apparently was phenomenal because
Yeah.
I had more seats than I expected every game.
Because I'm normally just like Cthulhu, intrigue. All right, done.
Yeah.
That I need to definitely, and we've said this for like I don't know. You actually did it this year, so congrats.
A little.
Sort of.
Yeah.
But I need to like literally not schedule anything for a day, or like not schedule anything from 6 on, and say like, well, that's friend time, or because by now we have Gen Con friends,
Yeah.
people that I only see there. Spend more time doing stuff with friends. Like some of the most fun we have is just like that.
Yeah, it was at the
case
lobby
there.
and
Is
playing
in the
games.
lobby, just having a drink and playing a game.
Yep.
After like a long day of playing games.
Yeah, I overbooked again, but then about a week left. I'm like, nope, and I canceled several of my games. I did return them, so I didn't do just a no show. Sorry, I had a question about Ben, but just I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave my evenings free, and I'm so glad I did. Absolutely, that again, the moment in the lobby was like the best part. So absolutely, 100%, I want to do more of that again.
Like those are probably the two good things. And I said it last year, and I did it, which is I'm gonna get a bed, finally. And I finally was in a bed for the first time, like the whole time. I've had like a bed, but normally I have to like go out in the world and find a bed if I want one.
Yep.
But I finally was in a bed at Gen Con. So.
Nice. All right, so Rocky, what about you? Lessons learned, do difference.
I think mine would probably be pretty similar, and that is just to try the new things because
Well, every time you try something, you buy everything, so you can't afford to try too many new
that's
things.
the thing, though. But I specifically remember on the Thursday night, on Thursday morning, I did 2 Call of Cthulhu games, and I did one in the morning session, and then I did one that started at, I think, 1. So I had like an hour break, which is perfect because I got something to eat and everything. But I remember that night, because I was not in a bed, but I had brought like a foam mattress and everything. Like, it was perfect. I was better off on the floor. So what I did was, I remember the very first night, I was on 3rd shift, so I stayed up till about 2 in the morning the first night, and I actually put my phone, I turned the light on my phone, and I put it into the mattress, the bed that was beside me, and I stayed up reading the quick start rules for Call of Cthulhu, and it just kind of took me back to when I first learned about Dungeons and Dragons and like got into just role playing in general and stuff, and I loved it. Like, it was a very lonely night. but it was good. It was good, like just that experience of, and I think it just goes back to like trying new things, like because I'd never tried. I love Call of Cthulhu. I love H.P. Lovecraft. He's probably my favorite author. I actually went back and now I've been listening to the audiobooks and stuff, and I've got the omnibus on Audible, and so I've just been going back and listening to them, and yeah, it's been really good.
This might be my new favorite Gen Con moment. Is reinvigorating this Cthulhu.
Oh, it was great, and like I'm sitting there reading by my phone, and I was like, it was old school, but except it wasn't a candle, it was a phone. But it was just great, like reading it, and like the rule set and everything I like, and just the games I played in I really enjoyed. So yeah, I'd say that's what it is. Just making sure you do something that you. We also did the escape room, which was really nice.
Yeah, I was on.
And I never did an escape room. I did one before, but I never did one there. And so yeah, that was really nice too. So.
All right, so Brad, what about you? Lessons learned, do difference.
Lessons learned, plan better this year, because my prep for Gen Con was virtually 0, which is unlike me because I'm a planner and prepper person, like, when I run games or whatever. Totally unprepared for I didn't even look at the schedule after we booked whatnot, so I just need to build more time out to actually get ready and not pack the night before and be running around last minute. So yeah, that's major rule number lesson for Gen Con next year.
All right, and then Ryan, Tom wanted you to talk a little bit specifically about the running games to pay your way and then running so many games? Like, how did that affect your Gen Con? So you want to answer that first or second to your do different?
Let me do it second.
Okay.
So my do different things. First one is have exact times for your games, which would lead into Tom's question, and we'll cover that in a second. But when I scheduled with the company that paid for my way to be there, I just said, these are the games I'm going to run. This is the number of games you need me to run. I don't care when you schedule them. Throw them in there. And it worked, but I had games early in the morning, and then I'd have a huge break all day, and then late at night, which wasn't the best. It wasn't terrible. Some of my roommates had worse times. But pick your times. Be more exact about what times I want to run games. And the second thing I learned is believe your roommates when they say they snore. Or bring earplugs if that's the case.
Look, every CVS sells the wax earplugs. You go buy them. They come in like a little pack. Go to ask them if you don't know what they are.
Yeah.
Buy the wax ones. Don't buy the foam ones. Because I'm not a snorer, but I know a lot of people that sound like two chainsaws fighting.
Oh my God, it was so bad. Like I was like, nah, I'll be all right. I mean, I was a fireman. Plenty of guys snored. No. Man, like jackhammer next to me, it was so bad. One of the guys even slept in my car one of the nights because he's like, I can't take it. I got to get some sleep. So, yeah, went down to the lobby, the parking garage, slept in the car, and got like 4 hours of sleep. Better than next to the guy with the dueling chainsaws. It was horrible.
Yeah, I'm completely deaf in my left ear if I take off my device. So usually I can just like put my right ear against the pillow, and it's almost like I'm deaf at that point, because I can't hear it all this way. And we have someone within our group who snores in a way that can defeat me there. So I usually bum one of Michael's. I just only need one, but I usually bum one of your earplugs when that person is with us.
Yeah, they rock.
Anytime, brother.
So those are my do differently. But to get back to Tom's question, we had a game group here that's traditionally Warhammer games. And they've got a pretty good fan base and a pretty good setup, and they expanded to, and from what I was told and what I saw, they were the largest non-vendor, non-exhibitor floor space in all of Gen Con, which was huge. Actually, we had like almost a whole, it seemed like a quarter of one of the halls, the gaming halls. But they run Warhammer. They expanded to do board games, and they expanded to do RPGs. I was one of the people that they got to do RPGs. So in return for running X amount of hours, which I think it was like 200 hours worth of basically butts in chairs, counting myself, they paid for my hotel trip and my badge for the entire weekend. I was only responsible for getting there and my food, which worked out great, saved me a ton of money. I will probably do it again because it saved me a ton of money. And now that I've done it for a year, I kind of know what I'm looking for. But it's if you're in the Cincinnati area, find Tom, find myself, find Cincinnati Arsenal Gaming. And if you're a GM and you want to experience Gen Con, try it. Pretty good group. They are, we've got some friends within the group now that do different stuff for the Academy. They're considering coming to our show, so it's not like I'm leaving or anything like that. Just I was a mercenary for my skills otherwise for a period of time for 4 days.
So to interrupt you, so when you say like 200 hours, do you mean like if you run a game for 5 hours, like each person is 5 hours, so it'd be like 20 or
counting myself, each person at the table was 5 hours, and that would be like 25 hours for one game. Okay. So I had to, I think honestly, the way they said it is we'd like you to hit 200 hours, but in all reality, because they're Warhammer and their games take all day, and they sold a god awful number of seats, they probably had most of us covered with what they did. Time-wise, I think I hit like 160 something hours. Yeah, but I ran 5 games that ran 5 hours apiece. I actually did have more players at every table than what I was supposed to, so I'm pretty sure that I was close to 200. But it was a really good way to get there. It worked out really well. The group was really well planned. They had everything organized and thought out. They made it really simple.
Yeah, the premier groups, they have an arrangement with Gen Con. I don't know all the ins and outs, but basically they tell Gen Con, we're going to provide 2,000 player hours, and Gen Con gives them number of badges, number of hotel rooms, and space, and then they are responsible for finding the GMs to actually facilitate those games.
We had 10 hotel rooms with at least 4 people in every room.
Yep.
So I mean, we had plenty of people that we brought.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it this time, but I think it was the last time I went to Gen Con.
Yeah, you did it for Baldwin Games.
Yeah, I worked with Baldwin Games, and that was great. You can look them up. They only run Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, though. And they do all the Adventure League stuff.
Yep.
And they do something similar. They do it where I had to do two RPG slots, which were, I want to say 4 hours each, maybe 5 hours each. So you had to run 2 of those slots, plus you had this was...
I'll expedite it. There was math involved.
Well, no, there was there wasn't. And then there was one event that was like, it was like a special Saturday event that was supposed to be like a kind of like a season finale for the Adventurers League, and so they really wanted you to do that one plus at least 2 more, and with that you got your badge paid for, which that year I think it was like $79, and then you also you could also get a hotel room, I think, if you ran another 2 more sessions or something like that. So
yeah.
I mean, it's pretty good, and you got to pick them and stuff. So when I did it with them, it was good. Like, they sent me my badge, and it was still the same thing where you can sign up for events and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it was a pretty good thing if like if you can't get there on your own.
Yeah.
So
like the moral is, if you're a GM and you're good at it,
you need more into the mic.
You can, if you're a GM and you're good at it,
there are ways to get there.
But I do want to say again, I don't want to get into naysaying, but the one of the things that we will do at a Catacon, because I don't like the way that's set up, is it incentivizes having more people at the table. Like it doesn't make sense for you to run a game for 3 people because you're only getting 18 hours versus 7 people. Well, I know it doesn't always work that way.
Well, and when I logged my games, I said I'll run a game for 5 people, which is a pretty comfortable level for 5th edition, which is what the system is I was running. It just turns out that people heard about my games. I had returning players, and I ended up with after the first day, I had 6 or more people at my table every time.
and
yeah, exactly. But
I'm not going to turn anybody away. We want to be inclusive here at RPG Academy, and it's part of what we do. So if there was a chair at my table, sit down and play and have fun.
So this is Michael personally. I don't like playing in games with more than 5 players. I'll do 6, but I don't like it.
I did a 4E game with 8.
And
I like 3 or 4.
And I've been players,
and that's insane.
And played in games that had up to 8 for that very reason, because the DM got incentivized to have 8 players because it's more player hours. So I get it. I'm not saying it's a bad way of doing it, but at Catacon, we don't incentivize player hours. If you want to get a GM badge, you just have to run 2 things. It doesn't matter whether it could be 2 people at the table, it could be a panel, it doesn't matter. So there's no player hour incentives just
and
because I'm afraid.
Still get enough people to show up.
Exactly.
So there's nothing. Yeah.
So for me, a couple lessons learned there. One, I didn't do the official Catacon meet and greet on Wednesday this year. And surprisingly, I had quite a few people sort of wish that I had, that they kind of wanted there to be one. But the problem is that it's so much freaking work. One, Gen Con is not helpful at all because there's not really a lot of events on Wednesday that aren't trade days, so they really don't want to give you space anyway, so I always have to fight them with it. And then no one has their tickets because they're all on will call, so everybody shows up, gets in the will call line, and half the people who signed up to come don't end up showing up because they're still on will call line. And it's just like the hassle of moving all the games over, because usually we're as far freaking away from the hotel as you can get, and I'm carrying boxes and boxes and boxes of games. So this year I thought, well, we'll just do it more casual. You're going to be at the hotel. I'll bring just a couple bags of games, which was good, but then hardly almost no one showed up. So I think next year I might go back to doing the official event, but me not bring any games, other like maybe like 2, like Hanabi and one other game, because that's the part that sucks.
Got to be Hanabi.
But gotta have Hanabi. So just tell people, if you want to bring something, you bring it. I'm not going to provide the open game library, because that's the part that sucks so much.
Which is sharing a game, which is a good thing.
Exactly. And then, yeah, definitely canceling those games and so having my evenings free was probably my favorite thing that I did there. I did try a bunch of new stuff, which is my goal. I played in several games I'd never played before, new systems, that kind of thing. I got to play in Basic Fantasy, which I don't think is a very good system, but it was probably my favorite game because the GM was fabulous and the game was fabulous, but the system itself had nothing to do with how much fun I was having. It's just the group. I got to play in High Plains Samurai. I ended up buying that because I thought it was very interesting. I'm still not sold on the system, but there's a lot about it that I enjoy, so I'm kind of mining it for ideas. Yeah, but I ended up canceling a Tales from the Loop game, which I really wanted to play in, but it was at night. And then I got to play...
You afraid of the dark?
No, I'm not afraid of the dark because... what was it? Oh, 10 candles.
Oh, yeah.
Except it was 7 candles, but then it became 6 candles. So I got some friends of the podcast, Rich and Taylor particularly, and they always do an Airbnb. That's how they get like 12 people. They get an Airbnb, and everybody sleeps there. And it's a kind of a running joke that they always have a Airbnb with a murder basement. Yeah. It's like this just creepy basement. And this one in particular had like a super creepy murder basement. And so we played 7 candles, became 6 because one of them went out right away. And according to the rules, that happens, you're screwed. So I played 6 candles in a murder basement with all the lights off except for the actual candles themselves, which I've been wanting to play for a long time. And that was recorded. I don't know yet who's editing and who's releasing it, but I know it was recorded at some point, so there might be a chance of people hearing that. So I got to do a bunch of interesting stuff. We got to do the escape room. I was actually very disappointed in the escape rooms. I didn't think they were that great.
Yeah. I didn't either.
Particularly for the well, it really wasn't the price necessarily because it's what it would cost you if you did 2 escape rooms, but we did them at the same time. Getting there was a hassle. The air conditioning on the bus. We were in a stripper bus, or what's it?
Party bus.
Party limousine is what they called it.
And then we had too many people, so they had to call another one. So then we started getting there late. And again, for some reason, when we were driving, the air conditioning went off. So it was on while we were sitting there, but as soon as we started driving, it went off. And it was miserable hot.
The best part was when they asked the driver,
people.
"Can you turn it on?" He pulls over, gets out,
does
and somehow
something,
it comes on. Like,
yeah,
we're like, why is it controls for it out there?
Apparently, and then on the way the way back, he turned it on, and then we hit a bump, and it went off, and it was off for the rest of the trip. And then so we got there late, so we got back a little bit late, which kind of I had a time frame which got thrown off.
How was the brunch?
It was terrible,
mediocre at best.
See, here's the thing: it came with alcohol, and that's where I get hosed because I didn't pay for a muffin and eggs. I paid for 2 drinks, but I don't drink. All I drank was water. So I paid $12 for 2 bottles of water.
That probably would have been the one time you should have done it.
And I had a Coke, so
it was,
that was a waste.
I'm glad I did it, but I don't feel the need to ever do it again. I didn't think the rooms were that great, and and it took up way too much time. So I'm glad I did it, but I won't do it again. So those are probably my 2 big
Now, I did see that there are escape rooms at the convention center.
There's escape rooms everywhere.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have had to actually travel if we went to those. This one was about a half hour away, and it was $82.
84.
Or $84, which included your bus ride out there, the escape room, the brunch, and then another escape room, and then the ride back.
2019.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. I think that's too much. When I've done escape rooms, they've been like $20, $22, and I understand they have to compensate for getting the bus and the Ubers and all that stuff. But
so again, glad I did it. Won't do it again. All right, so I want to crisscross now. So I'm gonna go to Brad. Food. Any favorite food moments or bad food moments? I guess.
I ate great food. The food trucks were fantastic. What I mean, we got some awesome barbecue sundaes. They were like mac and cheese with like barbecue on top.
What was? Do you know the truck? Like, throw them a shout out.
Wild pig?
Yeah, like
something wild boar or something like that.
Yeah, something of that theme.
It's what, folks. It's on my Twitter and my Instagram, and I hashtagged it. So look it up.
It's fantastic. Honestly, I had great food the whole time. I don't have Michael's curse of terrible food at GenCon, but I was very happy.
I go out of my way to try to eat good food, so I'm bitterly disappointed when it's not good food.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So what about you, Rocky? Any food?
I'd
good
say
or bad?
Probably. I didn't have any bad food either, but I think my best experience was probably the very first day when you had booked the Weber Grill or whatever.
Yeah, Weber.
But you had booked that, and I think the wait person that we had just made it. Like, he was really good, super attentive. Like, he talked to us and stuff, and was just normal. And so it was really good. Like, not to feel like the game shame thing. Like, there was none of that. There was no judging, and my food was really good. I got what I had like
You
a
had,
big
you had the
sampler
sampler,
of
you had
everything.
the sampler
Yeah.
plus 2
Little
or
of
something.
everything.
And I said, add it for another person, but that other person's me. And I ate
sounds like
almost all
something
of it
I would
too,
do.
So that's embarrassing, but
Yeah.
it was good. It was like ribs and yakitori sticks or.
And there's nothing like going to like an upscale
There's all
restaurant
kinds of stuff.
and pulling out like art, like Hanabi or Art of
Yeah.
You're like, yeah,
Yeah, we're playing.
I know
Yeah.
the drinks are like
And-
$17 here, but we're gonna play.
And then I also kept Hooters in business because I went there probably 4 or 5 times. Like I do really like the wings, and it was good.
Does your
So,
wife watch the show?
It doesn't matter.
That's
All
a
right.
disservice though,
Good, wholesome
because
fun.
I, on the other hand, like Brad, had great food. The food trucks were phenomenal. I tried some different things. We had, I did have some killer tacos. The barbecue sundae was fantastic. The noodles, island noodles, which is usually a hit. I did have those late at night, which was good. But I had Pearl's. It was Pearl's Pizza or something like that. Just a little tiny mom and pop pizza place, literally in a dark alley. It was like a service place. Everybody that was getting off work was coming there, so you knew it had to be decent food. 2 just enormous slices of pizza, New York style. Pizza for relatively cheap. Drinks were good. I mean, it was no bad food, except for the stuff that I brought and ate walking to my games for breakfast.
Yeah, that Giordano's pizza we had was really good too.
Yeah, Giordano's
That
was pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, so Michael, food. I know you have at least one not okay story.
Like, so all the yeah, I come from a cooking family.
And like all the food was mediocre at best because it's all purchased out. Because nothing is as good as home cooking. So that's pretty much a standard no matter where I am. And it has to be like something really amazing to be good food.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to argue that point.
Yeah.
So.
Which is why, I normally, drink my dinners elsewhere. So, Embassy Suites, free drinks from, 5 to 7 for people that get
For
out.
guests.
For guests.
Yeah, so you can't just show up there. But
No.
that's where our room was.
Yeah, so that's a
Yeah.
good thing. Shout out Embassy Suites. It's like 6 years I've been going to you.
Yeah.
You guys, I figured I'll give you a shout out.
Yeah, how was the presidential suite this year? Pretty nice.
We were into the presidential suite. It's very swanky.
Yeah, dog's barking upstairs if you can hear that. Sorry.
The dogs were not in a
I
presidential
just
suite.
got to get like the 6 other guys out of the room.
Yeah.
That I'm in.
Then you actually be the presidential suite.
Yeah.
So we went back to the Weber Grill. Last year I had their French onion soup, and it was the best French onion soup I ever had. I've been talking about this French onion soup for a
It
year.
could never live up to it.
It was like 20%.
Exactly.
It was like 20% of our conversation on the way up.
Yeah. So Rocky's 100% right. Like, it was good, but it did not match my memory. Like, it did not live up to the expectations, but it was still good. So good that I went back the next day and I just got French onion soup. But my favorite food is I went to the Brazilian steakhouse.
Oh, yeah.
It was expensive, but oh my God, it was good.
Fogo de chão?
Fuck yeah. If I say that, we're not PG-13 anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really, really good. Definitely, I think next year that will be my reservation place instead of Weber. Because Weber's right next to the hotel. I can jump in there and get the soup or something.
What'd you order at the?
It's all you can eat meat.
Oh,
They
okay.
just bring it around skewers
Protein.
and again,
Yeah.
it was as much as you want.
I would have made my money back there.
Oh, it was.
Yeah,
I did.
they're always good.
It
But
was-
see, that's the fundamental difference between Michael and most of Brad and myself, particularly that do the food trucks. I like doing that kind of stuff. We get them probably once a day, a different truck at work in the summer. I like kind of see what different styles are and different things like that. You would prefer to sit down and have a meal.
Yep.
No problem with
100%.
that. It's also more expensive that way.
It is more expensive, but I'm also
Um,
a fat dude and I sweat like crazy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm standing out in the sun in 90-degree weather waiting for food. That is not good for anyone else who has to deal with me later that day. So I like to go in an air-conditioned place, sit down, and eat a good meal.
All good points.
We went to the beer garden, got beer, then went
Oh.
and stood in line. So it was much more tolerable.
and then we got more beer, so
Yeah, it
we
worked out
didn't
well.
really
Yeah.
notice.
All right. So one last trip around. Rocky's kind of already gone, but anything that you purchased, your big game, your big RPG game, or anything that you bought there that you're excited about that you brought home, it's okay if it's nothing.
Nothing. I purchased a good time at GenCon.
That's fine.
I have stuff that I didn't cover that I'll take in his
So,
time.
so just
Just
pick one. What was your one thing that you bought that you're most excited about? I'm assuming it's Call of Cthulhu et al.
Probably Call of Cthulhu, just because it's a role playing game, so you can always do whatever you want with it. Whereas like this game, it's that game.
It's that game,
That
yeah.
game. Yeah. So
Brad, did you buy anything this year?
I didn't buy anything for myself. I bought 2 stuffed dragons for my girls, and that was it. and a piece of jewelry for my wife, and that was it.
Nice. And Ryan.
Well, we already flashed the Transformers. There's one of the characters. I have 2 boys, 5 and 7, who I am impatiently waiting to get into gaming. So I bought Monk Cook's No Thank You Evil.
I'm playing that tomorrow with my kids. They've been requesting it for weeks.
I am reading the rules so I can run it. It's been sitting on my kitchen table, and my 5-year-old's like, "Dad, can we play this? Dad, can we play this?" And I'm like, "I'm trying." So busy dad life. And then I bought the just released at GenCon expansions for Dragonfire, which I am super excited about. And then I think I bought one thing from. I forget the name of the company, which is really bad because I had the guy sign it. But it's a 5th edition kind of expansion for players that like to harvest creatures after they kill them. It gives you alternate rules for things you can create with the creatures and different maybe feats or items that you can use to beef up, things like that. So I have one player in particular in my home game that really likes to do that, and I thought that would be perfect for him. So just a nice little supplement.
Was it Volo's Guide to Monsters or?
Nope, I own that already. No, this was I want to say Kobold Press.
Yeah,
does that sound right?
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I think it is. I know what you're
that
talking about.
that team, the guys that did the same guy that did Tome of Beasts.
Yeah, Tome of Beasts, Creature
Is
Compendium.
Kobold Press.
Yeah, Kobold Press. So it was
They're
from
like a
the
huge third-party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
creator.
Yeah, in fact, I stopped at their booth because I saw the Tome of Beasts, and I was like, well, I haven't even got through all the way through the,
Yeah.
covered 50% of the monsters in Monster Manual. I'll hold off on this, but this looks really cool. And it turned out to be, oh yeah, hey, how you like that? Yeah, that's cool. Let me show you some things. Oh, by the way, my name's on the front of the book. I wrote it.
Was it Wolfgang Bauer?
No, his name was Daniel something.
Yeah, and I interviewed both of them recently on a show.
But
Dillon,
yeah,
Dan Dillon.
yes. So really cool people there. And anyways, got him to sign it and plan on using it. So yeah, all good stuff.
So
I actually met the guy who did Scythe, and
Scythe?
he actually did a Scythe. What do you guys call
Yeah,
it? Whatever.
Scythe.
Okay, well, there's one called My Little Scythe, and it's targeted towards kids that are I think 8 and up or something like that. And I took pictures of all the stuff, and I've already checked my local game store. They have it, so I'll probably be getting that too, just because it just looked really good, and it looked really player friendly, like to get like younger kids into the game and stuff like that. And just the way it all worked, it looked really good. Talking to him about it, it was good because he could answer like
Any questions,
oddly
yeah.
weird questions that I had. So, and then the mainstream game I got was called Visitor.
Yep.
It was pretty easy. All it was this alien had crashed.
It's
and
It's E.T. the board game.
I don't know. I've never played that, but
I have was it Outbreak or whatever Outpost. Third one is basically the thing.
It's fun.
The
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Yeah.
oh
It's-
no,
it's
that's
really
not what
straightforward.
this is.
No, but I'm saying it's basically that's E.T. the game. That's the thing the game.
Oh yeah. So this is the alien just makes up a rule of things that can pass through the.
Yeah, I have heard
thing.
about that, and you have to try to figure out what the
Yeah,
rule
and so
is.
you give the alien, like you play as like the FBI or the CIA, or you could be the little kid that tries to help the alien.
Yeah.
And so the alien wants it to be easy enough to where the kid can figure it out, but hard enough to where they figure it out.
So you try to
before.
put something through, and like it could be like a red horse. It goes through. Did it go through because it was red? Because it was a horse? Because it was an animal? Because it was alive?
Or
Because it
'cause
had 4
it had
legs?
hair, or
yeah. And so you try to figure out, okay, that went through, that didn't, and you're trying to get what the rule is.
And so the rule when we did it, she said if it had a full circle in the picture. So, and the other guys figured it out way quicker than I did. But I was like, oh, it's kind of round. And I had the round thing, but I didn't realize the full circle thing. But because there was like a pizza slice, and I was like, well, that's not a full circle. But then there was pepperoni on it, and it had a full. So yeah, but it's fun, and it's available at Target. The woman there told me
We're
she
not
thought it'd be
supported by
$25, and it was only $20.
Oh, nice.
Like I've actually checked at Target to see if they have it.
We're not sponsored by Target again.
Yeah, we're not sponsored by Target. So I was going to mention No Thank You Evil. I've said it before, but I did the Kickstarter for that. So when the game showed up, I pretended like I didn't know who sent it. And I'm like, what is this? Like the boys came over, I'm like, who sent us this game? So they think to this day that someone just randomly sent us No Thank You Evil and for us to play. I don't know why, but I thought that was funny.
Well, for their dad who has a ton of board games down, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, so, but they think it's fun. We do play that a lot. I know all the rules. So basically, they tell me what to do, they roll a d6, and that's it.
Yeah, I didn't even know they had expansion stuff for it. I was like just going there for the buy, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, I did the
like
Kickstarter,
I had to resist the urge to buy all of the things.
So I go to GenCon every year to buy stuff. Like I am that person. I'm the reason why the vendor hall is as big as it is and as expensive as it is. So obviously I could not go without getting Legendary. This is the game that I buy every expansion for, even the ones that aren't good. So this is the Marvel Studios 10-year anniversary. It's basically the core set again, except instead of using artwork, they're now just using images from the movie. So it's Chris Evans as Captain America and Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. And it comes with a play mat, which is the number one reason why I wanted it, because the old core version has that cardboard flip out, which is awful to try to carry around and it's falling apart. So by buying that, I got a new.
Most importantly for Michael, it says Phase 1.
Oh yeah, there will be more.
He knows.
So, but here's the thing: if you look at the picture, it's supposed to be Phase 1. Chris Pratt is on there for Guardians of the Galaxy, the movie. There is no Guardians of the Galaxy cards in there at all. So the box is in fact misleading, but it was well worth the price.
Well, yes, because Doctor Strange is on the side of the box. There's Chris Pratt.
Yep.
There's Groot over
and
there.
None of them are actually in the game itself.
Yep.
I also got the Sentinel Comics RPG Quick Starter rules. I love superhero RPGs. I'm always on the lookout for new ones and good ones, and I've heard good things about this one. I haven't dove too far into the rules. It's kind of like a Cortex Plus-ish game. The lead designer is Cam Banks, who designed Cortex, so it's not surprising that it had something to do with it. But just looking at the character sheets, I don't know how you would create a character. I haven't got that far yet, but it's not like I have freeze power. It's like you have just like the superheroes from the game, Sentinels of the Multiverse. So like Ice or Sub-Zero or whatever his name is, certain things
Absolute
he does
Zero.
hurts himself, just like the card. So if he uses his freeze power, he may take damage. So it's themed heavily off the card game. It's not just generic superheroes. So we'll see how that goes. I got
cold-hearted.
Shards
of Infinity.
We are contractually obligated to say that every
Yeah.
time.
And beyond.
which is a two to four player
Yeah, we bought that.
Deck builder.
Somebody else bought it. We played it 2 or 3 times. I really liked it, so I went and bought it. We played it a couple more times. It's kind of like Magic the Gathering meets deck building. There's a lot of similarity.
Ascension plus
Magic the Gathering, I guess.
like point on.
But what I really liked about it is every time we played, it came down to like everyone was close. Like at no point did I ever participate in a game where it was just like a runaway. It was always like, if you didn't win this turn, I was going to win this turn, or I was 2 turns behind you. And it's like I like in a game where you're always still in it. So
You can win through mastery.
yes,
It's made by Ultra Pro, and like Justin Gray, I got to play with him while we were there, and he's like a huge Magic guy for any Magic nerds out there.
Okay.
That was when I was a kid. So,
and I got 2 other RPGs, Scum and Villainy, which is the Star Wars hack of Blades in the Dark, or any like sci-fi space. It could be Firefly too, I guess, or Battlestar Galactica. I'm gonna have Brad dig into this so that he can run a game for me.
That's a bit like saying Voltron and stuff. It's the same as Transformers.
You mean GoBots?
Yeah, don't do that.
Oh!
Don't do that
Saltburn.
to me.
I think GoBots might be better.
But then he's
Cop
like,
tour.
"It's
Yeah,
Star Wars," and-
I will get up from this table and punch you in the face.
And then I also got High Plains Samurai.
It's a good thing.
All right,
Dropkick distance.
so time to bring the show down a little bit. Michael,
okay.
what was your worst moment?
My worst moment.
Or definitely could be better moment.
Man, I don't have worst moments. What was my worst moment? No, normally it's like at some point I have like a moment where I'm like, I just need to be alone. But I took really good care of myself this year, where it's like just sometimes I need to listen to music for 15 minutes or something, because you're playing 12 hours of gaming. You just need some time. So no, I don't think what was the worst part? Like not sleeping in a
Leaving?
room.
Having to come home?
Having to come home, like sleeping in a room with like 5 other people. That's about it. Like not that bad either.
All right, Rocky?
I don't really have a bad moment. I just kind of consider it like whatever you...
Part of the
I
experience?
think you make Gen Con what it is. Like, if you go there with a bad attitude, I'm sure you're not going to like it. But I went there with no expectations like I do every year. And
You're a blank slate.
yeah, and I think because of that, like I just didn't have a bad
That's why he's got
experience.
so much to talk about.
Yeah.
So,
All right, Brad.
Me, goes back to that prep. I had a large kind of a dead spot in my schedule, it actually coincided well because I kind of hit my midway through con. The con is a hot kind of roller coaster of up and down experience, and in that empty spot I kind of hit that little trough, and but rebounded, finished great, good time.
Okay, right.
My I guess. I mean, I said my GenCon was a 10, and I really think it was. The one thing that I wish I had done differently, I guess the one thing that brings it down slightly, maybe call it a 9.5, is that I wasn't actually a player in any games. I ran the entire time, which was great because everybody had fun. That's what we do. So we just want them to have fun when they're done. But I didn't get to play a game. So my roommates had found time to play. Just missed the opportunity to jump in somebody's game and be a player.
I definitely could see that. So I have 2.
Strap in.
We're going to save that for the end. That's going to be like the bonus if people want to stick around. So the other bad moment I had is, so I had my little carry bag with me full of games, and I had bought a couple games that I was sleeving. So I went down to the lobby, and that's when Brad and Michael went to your game. So it was just me and Chris. Chris is a great guy, but I thought, this is a great time for me to maybe take a nap or something. I've been going nonstop for 3 days. So I was like, Chris, I'm going to go take a nap. I'll be back in a little while. When more people show up, we can play bigger games. So I pack up all my stuff. I think it was pizza too. We all said pizza. So I'm like going through the lobby. I'm trying to carry everything. It's really hard. And I get all the way up, and there's elevators. There's always one broken in the embassy suite. So there's only 3 elevators instead of 4. So it takes a while. I finally get up there. I get to the room. Can't find my key. Cannot find my door key. And I'm like, I don't want to go back down. So I get on my phone. We're on a Twitter DM group. I'm like, is anybody coming near the room? I need a key. And I think a couple of people said, yeah, we're kind of close. So I just sat down in the hallway, and I just started going through my stuff. I'm like, I know it's here. It's because I just came up to the room earlier. I know I have to have it. So I'm going through everything, opening the boxes of my games, flipping through the game books. I'm just sitting there like a sad lost puppy, never found my key. And then Rocky and Chris, I'm going to tell the story.
I just want to say what you look like when I walked up there.
Oh, a sad puppy, I'm
sure.
sure.
Yeah. I walk up there, and we were on, the 12th floor or something?
12th floor.
So I come around from the elevator, and my Twitter, I know here. So I didn't even see that he needed a key, and I had actually just texted him before and said, we are actually going to play a game. So I didn't even think I was coming back to the room. But then we're like, oh, well, whatever. We'll just go back to the room because we're not playing the game. And I walk around the corner, and I look up, and I see him sitting there, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, why is he just sitting there? Like, I know he has a key. And he has, the worst look on his face. He just looks so sad and puppy doggish. And so I'm like, what's going on? He tells me, oh, yeah, I locked myself out, blah, blah, blah. So we let him in, and then then this happens.
So, and again, Chris is with you. Chris has never been on the podcast. He's like one of the nicest people I've ever met. So everybody's helping me grab all my stuff. Well, I'd left my phone and my badge holder, so I turn around, I go to pick them up. The door closes behind me, and I'm locked out again. And so I turn around and I knock on the door. Nobody answers.
We're all in the back room,
and I didn't know that. I thought
residential suite.
They're bleeping with me, right? I thought there's bleeping with me, and I have this. There's a part of my personality where I don't want to give people the satisfaction, so I said I'm not going to give them satisfaction. So I sat back down. I'm like, eventually they'll get tired of the game. No, because they weren't playing a game. They weren't in the room. So after 7 minutes, I'm like, God, I just start pounding on the door. And then Chris comes open the door. He's like, what? I'm like, I've been locked out of the room again. And Chris's face instantly just goes to oh, I'm so sorry. Just so much concern in his face. Because till that moment, I thought they were just screwing with me. And no, they were in the back room, had no idea. So I locked myself out twice. And
it's like when you ignore someone, though, and they don't know that you're ignoring them.
Yes.
That's what and we didn't know that you were out there. Yeah. That you're like, man, they slighted me so bad. I'm not. No, I'm taking a stand. I'm just going to sit out here. Yeah. And he just sat out there because we didn't know.
You had no idea. So yeah, so that was my next to worst moment of the GenCon, which turned into a good story. It's a good laugh. So that's turning things around.
It wasn't funny at the time.
it was funny right after the door was open. Yeah. Right. Up until the point where I was still outside.
Once he realized,
I laughed when he told me about
it. Yeah. So we're going to end the show there.
Ready.
if you want to stay after this, there's going to be one more story that I'm going to tell about a very bad game I was in. But we try to stay very positive here at the Academy. It's something we believe heavily in. We very rarely talk about things negatively. It's just focus on the positive. We don't like it, we don't talk about it.
For those of you who are sticking around, this is what we try to improve on, folks.
Yeah.
Because this is a whopper.
So the reason
Hashtag you should stick around.
Yeah, so the reason I'm going to talk about this is because I think there's lessons to be learned from it. So this was one of, if not the worst game I've ever played in, anywhere ever. And there's almost like a checkbox of every possible thing that the DM could have done wrong, they did.
Like, I've said this on the show. I've said this on the show.
And again, some of that's subjective.
RPG bad bingo.
Maybe other people that were there at the table enjoyed it. I don't think so. Like, I was kind of reading the table. I'm pretty sure we were all on the same page. Maybe not. Maybe they all went home like, this is the greatest game I ever played in. But for me, it was just awful, awful, awful. I'm not going to share any names.
Huh? Are we signing off? Or
well, yeah, so I guess, we'll do that. So, Michael, say hello to everyone, or say goodbye to everyone. Give me your Twitter handle again.
Hello, everyone.
Or goodbye, everyone.
Twitter. My Twitter, yeah, it's Verjaeger1, VERJAEGER.
So what is that?
That's just a name.
Like, is it from an anime, a book? Is it a
know,
Voltron?
Everybody has Google. They can just.
No.
I've enticed them now to get on. They're gonna remember.
If you actually
now.
Google that, let me know. If you sit down
It's
on the
nothing
floor
bad.
and like, I'm not giving them satisfaction.
It's nothing.
I won't give it the satisfaction. I will not.
This guy's messing with me.
Just
All
wait
right.
7 minutes.
All right, Rockstar.
I'm at Laughin' Joker, LAFFINJOKER. Feel free to tell me your backstories, long blurbs in the wind.
Nine-page
listen.
background.
If you have questions, I'll answer them.
No backstory for Karen.
I'm pretty big about rules, unlike Michael. So if you do have a question about some rules of a game that you like,
And
I'll
half an
probably play it.
hour.
Yeah, and a half
an hour to sit
the
down.
explanation, the page number, the like why I like that rule, like then just
Yeah.
tweet me.
Yeah.
Or if you
tweet
just
you
want
back.
to talk.
Yeah.
He's there to talk.
He's just there.
I'll listen. Sometimes. Sometimes.
If you're
He's
in the
more
mood
into
for-
talking,
If you're in the
though.
mood for listening, give Rocky
If you're
a
an
call.
active listener,
All right, and Brad.
Hey, I'm Brett at Force and Destiny. Have a good one.
And Ryan.
Ryan again, at Teleporta on Twitter. Yeah.
All right.
Bye, everybody, and hello to the people sticking around for this story, because you should be sticking around.
So we'll see you for next Gen Con. And again, if anyone isn't aware, I am taking a break from the podcast. This is the last live thing I'm doing until at least October. There will be an audio-only version of this coming out soon. I'm just going to rip it off of the video. I have some episodes of stuff that's already been edited, ready to go, and I'm going to release those, and then it's just going to be nothing until I'm ready to come back, because I'm working on Catacon stuff right now, which takes up a lot of time.
And we should see you there, right?
Yeah, you should see us in a Catacon. Go to catacon.com right now.
I'll be like the first person you see.
Get your badges and stuff and come and play games with us. But hopefully none of your games there will be like my game here.
Get your drinks, get your popcorn, and take a deep
See,
breath.
now we're
Put your
overselling it.
Seatbelt on.
Now we've oversold
this
it.
is the onion soup of stories now.
No, we're just setting you up to not half booty it.
They're going to be like, oh, that's not so bad.
Okay. So I was very excited for this game.
Sell it.
It was one of the games that I specifically wanted to play. And, again, I didn't cancel this game because it's a system I've been wanting to play for a while. Super excited about it. And I went there with just hope in my heart. And I got there early. I was the first person because I had bought this game and I was sleeving it. So I found a table and was sleeving in between games while waiting. GM shows up. We're chatting. Seems like a nice guy. He seems excited. He runs these games for this organization frequently. I go ahead and I get to pick my character type. Anyone, again, listens for a while know that I'm pretty much anything that's a caster. So if there's a caster type of character, that's what I'm going for. So I got to pick my caster, got my dice out, ready to go. The other players show up, and we only had 4 players. So again, I'm already like, this is great. I don't have 8 players. I only got 4. It's going to be fabulous. And things start to go downhill when the person next to me, who's a little younger than me, I'm old at this point, so a lot of people are younger than me. So calling him a kid's probably too much, but like in his mid-20s, But right away you can tell he's kind of shy, a little awkward. Like when he not necessarily like a stutter, but like he has trouble articulating, which is funny coming from me, but he has trouble articulating his thoughts sometimes. So we're in the group and we're going and we're talking, and the kid is having trouble like getting his thoughts across, and the GM just stops paying attention to them. Like rather than like, you know, trying to like pull it out or maybe even like, you know, cut them off, say, so what you're asking is, you know, try to summarize, just literally the gaze just went from that person to someone else at the table, and that kid just kind of slowly stopped talking because no one was paying attention to him anymore, which is just awful.
Way to ruin a gamer.
Just whew. So then we get started, and this was a part 2 of a 2-game event. You didn't have to play in part 1, so none of us had done that. Oh, actually, I forgot the first thing.
Surprise.
Well, the first thing that actually brought it down was he started by saying that all the people who played in the first game loved it so much they regretted that they weren't able to play in the second. And I don't know why, but I just thought, I don't know, that just doesn't give me a good feeling. I don't know why, but it just doesn't. So we then get a recap of what we missed, so that our characters who technically played in the other game, where they are in the story when we pick up part 2. This took about half an hour. I'm not exaggerating. Half an hour at the table going through all the little things that our characters did. Like, and then you did this, and then they didn't trust you, so then you did this, and they didn't trust you again, and then you had to fight, and you kind of won, but you didn't really win, so you had to fight somebody else. And I kept...
be clear, I didn't run this game,
No.
by the way.
It was not...
It would have been faster.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
probably. So, I mean, I kept thinking for like, when do we get agency? When do we get to start making choices in the game? And it was a long time. I mean, just to compare, the other game I played on Sunday, the Basic Adventure, was also a part 2, and the DM summarized it in 2 sentences. Like, boom, boom, and then we got to go. And, you know, anything else we didn't understand, he would tell us as we went. So right off the bat, I'm like, oh, okay, this is not going well. Then we didn't really have a direction. Like, we didn't really know what to do or where to go. So we're like searching for the plot. We're like, okay, I want to go talk to this person. And we would just get stonewalled. No matter what we said, any rolls we made, just never got any good information. Finally, we go into the tavern. This is supposed to be a very small village. That's important because there's not that many people around. It's a small, remote village. We are now the heroes of the village because of what happened in part 1. And so we're in the tavern. We're trying to get information. And one of our characters notices that one of the patrons is watching us. So he turns in person to players, say, okay, I'm going to tell the other players that this person is watching us. And the DM says, well, as soon as you do that, this person gets up and runs away, or walks away, is now gone. And the player is like, wait, I didn't do anything yet. I'm going to tell them that we're being watched, because it doesn't matter. As soon as you start to do that, that NPC gets up and leaves. So then we're like, okay. So the player who noticed it runs outside after them. I run out the back door. They're just gone. Like, there's no rolls, there's no tracks, just gone. and
Small town of like 300 people.
Small town. So we start asking around, like, hey, does anyone know who that guy is? Never seen him before. I have no idea who he is.
That's Disappearing Joe. That's all the time.
So I'm like, oh, clearly he just doesn't want us to interact with this NPC right now. Fine. Okay. So then we decided to sleep in the inn. So we go to the inn, which again is the only inn in town, and we ask for a room. And Michael, being Michael, trying to be smart and clever, I asked what room number we're in, and then I very loudly proclaimed, oh, room 4. We're going to be in room 4 tonight, hoping that maybe, you know, the assassins will come and get us, because that's usually what happens. You know, you can't find them, they'll find you. Yeah. So then we set a watch, and he makes us all go around like, who's got first watch? Roll a roll. Second watch, roll a roll. Third watch, roll a roll. Fourth watch, roll a roll. Nothing happened. Get up the next day, we're like, okay, I guess we're going to do this thing. I did leave this part out. There was a sentient sword called Exposition. I'm sorry, that's what I called it. It basically was like a divining rod, and like it would point it and it would push you in the direction you needed to go. So clearly we were supposed to just follow the sword. We wasted all this time. So then we go into the swamp.
How did you guys get the sword?
That was part 1.
Oh, okay.
In the 30-minute dialogue, we learned where the sword came from. Oh, and we also we had to go around the room and tell the DM what our alignment would be if we were playing D&D. This wasn't a D&D game. So, like, if you were playing D&D, what would your alignment be? And one of the characters was like lawful good, and that's the sword picked that character to be its wielder, so it's talking to them and like telling them you need to go here and do this thing. So we decided to follow the sword out into the middle of this awful swamp, and he proceeds to tell us how bad the swamp is. I mean, it is like if you step off of the path, you're probably going to die. Mechanically, you have a 50% chance of being sucked further into the swamp, or a 50% chance of hitting quicksand and dying. Not instant death, but screw death.
Yeah. So dead or dead.
So really bad
Lost
or
and dead.
worse are your only two options if you get off of the path.
Nothing you can do about
Lost
it.
with oxygen or lost without oxygen?
This is the
I mean, all the
strongest
supplies in your bag don't
railroad.
matter.
Yeah, no.
Well, to be fair, that's a ton of oxygen.
And there's railroad tracks going right down the center of the path.
So then he goes out
And this path is how wide?
okay, it's like okay, so we
As wide as railroad tracks.
so we travel for the evening, and it's starting to get dark, and we just happen, and I've done the same thing. So as plot, right as we was about time to set up camp, we came to a kind of a larger area in the swamps. It's got a lot of ground, so we could camp there. And he talked about how there was a fire ring, and it's very clear that very often travelers stop here and have a fire. But the way he drew it, there were like 5 paths that all connected to this central hub that we were on. And I'm like, that makes no sense for us to sleep here. We could be attacked from all directions. There's a big place in the fire. Everyone knows we're going to be here because this is where everyone goes. So why don't we go up the path like half a mile and then camp on the path? Clearly, he did not want us to do that because he kept trying to like subtly say like, oh, you're going up the path? You don't want to sleep here? You're going to go up that. In the dark, with a swamp that can kill you, you're just going to go up the path.
I think this is where he starts having like, this is the worst player
Probably.
ever. And
Probably.
I'm like, I'm gonna talk about this in my podcast. This guy.
So, I mean, he's fighting his tooth and nail. He doesn't want us to go there. And again, Michael now being the DM, like, okay, clearly there's going to be an attack. That's what this is about. So we decided to set up camp half a mile up the road. We made a small fire, and then we took precautions. We put 2 people on each side because he's described the path as it's like 2 feet wide. That if 2 people try to pass each other, there's a chance you'll fall into the swamp. It's that precarious. So we set up 2 people on each
Black
side of
hole
the
swamp.
fire, and then we set up like a trap. So we set up just like an alarm thing. I had like wires going around, so if somebody would trip it, we would get an advance warning.
2 foot wide wires. Trip wires.
Yeah, right. Out of nowhere, horsemen ride up, 5 on each side,
That's
running
fair.
full tilt on 2 foot wide track, so fast that we have no time to react.
Nope.
They just
Can I draw my sword?
they're just
No.
because they're there.
I have the quick draw feat though.
Can I have?
Nope.
Can
Nope.
I have a thought?
Nope,
Nope.
there.
Right.
So again, I don't know where they came from, how they got there that fast, but they did.
They travel at speed of plot.
Exactly. So, and they literally, as they're coming, he's like, they have their weapons out, and they're just like, "We're gonna kill you for trespassing in our swamp." So one of the players goes, "Okay, well, I'm gonna blast one of them with a spell." And he's like, "Oh, you're gonna do that?" Like kind of like weird, sort of like challenging. Like, why are you? Clearly this is a combat, but he seemed like really weird that we were gonna attack.
He's so aggressive.
So after this character or player casts their spell, then they start to attack us, and he keeps kind of going, well, you attack them first. Like, just like rubbing it in, like we're the reason why this battle's happening. The fact they came up charging on horseback out of nowhere with swords drawn and said they're going to kill us, it's our fault.
In the death swamp.
In the death swamp. It's our fault that we are going to fight, and we should have negotiated.
Clearly, you came into the swamp of death. You wanted to die to begin with, so
Yeah.
where they're just trying to help you.
Exactly. So one of the things that I can do in this game is I have the ability to move people against their will. Kind of like in 4th edition, I can, if I do a certain thing, I can move them.
Push your boy.
So I'm like, I'm going to throw them in the swamp. We had a long time talking about how deadly this swamp is. So I roll my roll, I get my roll, and I'm like, okay, I throw this bandit off his horse into the swamp. And he goes, well, the bandits live here, so they know how it works, and just puts him right back on the map. No roll, no penalty, just nope. The battle starts to go poorly, as all
Surprise.
as all things.
How? Like why?
Well, there's 10 of them. There's 5 on each side, even though it's
Yeah.
only 2 foot wide path. 5 horsemen are able to attack
2
us.
attacks each.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
So
fair.
things are going poor.
Vorpal swords.
So then these like dire wolf creatures appear, and they frighten the soldiers off, and they all just disappear. Again, we don't get a chance to jump on a horse with them or parting shot. They're just, again, they've teleported now away. And we're like, okay, great, now we got to fight these dire wolves. No, they leave.
Nope.
They were
They
just,
heal first.
What's that?
Don't they heal first?
Oh yeah, the soldiers too were healing. So as we were hitting them, somehow they were magically healing, even though there was no evidence that there was a way for them to do that.
Well, it's magic.
It's at this point that for me there would be a snow globe effect.
Okay, so
Well, it's
again,
magic, so
yeah, so
that
it was bad.
explains it.
So he lets these, Deus Ex Wolfenas show up and get rid of all the bandits for us. They then just look at us and then leave, and we finish resting in the swamp. No idea how or why.
Now, did the wolves ever attack the horses, though?
No,
No,
Well,
okay.
not in our view.
Yeah.
That might have happened off screen.
Yeah, okay.
So the
A lot apparently happened off screen.
So the next day, it felt like a day, but
They
in
were
the
probably
game
mad
time.
because you were blocking the trail.
But they were
How
coming.
wide is your sleeping bag?
They were coming at each other, so I don't know how that even happened. You think
Teleported half
they-
the party so that they could come at you from two
from both
angles?
sides. So we keep going on, and we get to basically Castle Grayskull. So there's this big evil-looking bone skull facaded castle, which is where the sword tells us it needs to go. And we're like, okay, well, we're going to rest here because at least we can see the castle. We don't have to worry about getting attacked from every side. So we rest and we heal and we get our spells back and our healing. And then I say, well, why don't we go around the castle, look for another way in. We don't want to walk right through the front gate. That's dumb.
Yeah.
That's not what we were supposed
What's
to
that
do.
sword's intelligence?
I don't know, but it was definitely more smarter than any of us were, apparently.
All of it.
So I'm like, okay, and he even first of all he challenged. He's like, you want to go around the castle? I'm like, yeah, I want to go around the castle.
Look.
Okay, well when you go to the side, you look over. There's a pack of 8 zombies blocking the path.
Did he really say zombies?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And there were zombies earlier. This is a
Oh,
necro.
okay.
Yeah, there were some zombies. So he's like, they're not attacking you, but if you try to go around the castle, you'll walk right into them and they'll
How do
probably
I know
attack
that?
you. I'm like, okay, well, I go to the other side. And I don't even know what's going to happen, but I go to the other side. Another pack of 8 zombies. Just, I don't know, playing dice.
Symmetry.
So then we're like,
That's fair.
I guess we go through the front door, right? Yes. So we walk into the courtyard. And again, to this point, we were like 2 hours into the game. The only rolls we've made were combat, which we had no chance of winning anyways. So we go into the courtyard, and there's this beautiful woman in a white dress and just gorgeous, and she's really out of place, and she's acting all powerful, and she starts talking to us and expositioning what's going on.
Name her Basil.
Let me tell you my plans.
So
30 minutes later.
So Michael, being Michael, I give her some lip in character. I'm like, I'm kind of insulting her a little bit. Not too bad, to my credit. I don't think I was like really being like aggressive, but I was being in my character and kind of pushing some buttons. So the DM does my favorite thing in the world to do, where the DM just sticks out their hand and goes, "You're knocked, or you're stunned, silenced, and you can't move." Or no, not yet. Silence. Right, you're silenced. So then I start using sign language. I'm like, okay, well, if I can't talk, I'm still going to let her know how I feel. Then it becomes, okay, now you're knocked unconscious and you lose half your hit points. No rolls,
Yeah.
no saves, just DM fiat that I need you to be quiet.
But she
Literally
has the
the
power,
worst
though,
thing.
that does that.
Yeah, so she has the power of just be quiet while I
It's the half
narrate.
damage spell.
Yeah.
So then we get another like 20 minutes of
How heavy is that table? Because I'm a strong guy.
of exposition about what's going on. We have a dinner, and again, like zombies show up and they like set the table. So like a table magic appears, and zombies show up in there, and it's the greatest food we've ever had. It's prepared the best way possible. So he lets me start talking, and the woman asks us, "Do you believe?" I don't.
The food.
Huh?
How was the food?
Well, I was going to say that it was oversalted, but I was afraid I'd get knocked unconscious again. So I don't want to give too much away because I think I would be getting to territory people might be able to figure out the game. But there was basically a question that was posed to the group, and everybody had to answer. And my character lied and gave the answer that I knew that she wanted to hear, and everyone else gave her the answer she didn't want to hear. So she then ignored that because she still didn't want to deal with me. One of us needed to volunteer for a ritual. And if we did that, it would allow good things to happen. But we had to agree to it. Could not be forced, coerced, had to agree to it. So going around and trying to find somebody that would agree to what's going on. Finally get one of us to agree. The other 3 are then summarily sent back somewhere else. But again, no choice to do anything else. Just now you're outside. The same bandits from earlier are now attacking her castle. So the zombies and the dire wolves are on our side fighting against the bandits, while this other character is somewhere else apparently doing the ritual. So what the ritual does is bring someone back, like it brings a person that was gone back, and this NPC, this character, comes up to the battlefield and just starts laying waste to all of the bad guys. And he just says, you've never seen anything like this before. They just reach out their hand and like the bad guys are like exploding. And then they start taking out the zombies and dire wolves too. And like it's the most amazing thing. So we're just listening.
Sounds really cool.
It sounds really close to what the lady did to you
That's
with the
full hit
silence.
point spell.
Yeah.
Like she hit you with the half one. He had the full hit point.
He has the full hit point.
Yeah.
So then just like
Bam.
takes care of all the problems. We just watch this happen. We don't
That's
get to make
great.
any rolls. We don't get to interact in any way. And then the guy and the girl kiss, and the castle turns from this dark, brooding, skeletal place to a happy place. The swamp turns into verdant fields and brings back glory and, makes everything beautiful. And then he goes around the room and everybody gets some sort of boon, and I get 10 bonus hit points. Like, you're just going to take them away however you want anyways. This is a one-shot. I'm never going to play again.
That must have been so rewarding.
It was. And then the character who did the ritual apparently got like bonus, like at the end they're like, I got all this cool stuff. Didn't get to use it at all. And that basically
Just for part 3.
Yeah, that was basically how the game ended. I mean, we had no agency whatsoever in the story. We were just listening to the DM tell a story that they wanted to tell. None of our choices mattered. Anything we tried to do that didn't fit what they wanted was just summarily shut down. There's no reason why we couldn't have had the ambush on the road. Instead of making it 5 on each side, make it 2. We're going to win or they're going to run away. So what does it matter if we don't go where the ambush was supposed to take place? What does it matter if we walk around the castle? Let's say we walked in through a back door. He could just narrate that we didn't find anything until we got to the courtyard, and then the woman's still there. Like
Every door is the right door.
Is the right door. There's no reason to not let us do that, and just the whole shutting you down, no matter what you try to do. It just all the tick boxes for what I don't think games should be, where the DM just does whatever they want, DM fiat, no agency, and we're just passengers in the story that the DM is telling. And I'm sure in his mind this was an amazing story of this long lost love. They're reunited and their love is conquers the evil in the world. But we had no actual part in that story. We were just there listening to it, and every time we tried to play, we were punished for it. There were also were a few semi-sexist comments to one of the female players. The dude ran was like, I don't know, like 60, so I don't know that he meant it that way, but I kept going, yeah, I wouldn't have used that phrase. Ignored the person who wasn't, just ignored them every time they tried to talk. Sexist to this person, no agency. It was the worst game I've ever been in my life.
I loved it. I'm sorry. This game was so terrible that I was like, literally like the next day, like, I'm gonna skip my U2 King Cthulhu Black Letter and go to this game
And find it.
And
Yeah.
find
That was
it.
our goal.
That was I looked for it. It wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I want this terrible.
He just ran part 2 once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, couple things, because I've said before that the worst con game I ever had prior to this, which I still stick to, was at Origins, the second year I'd ever gone. It was a 4E game, and there were a lot of factors there. The DM was not prepared because they didn't know they were going to run it. They didn't know how to run the 4E. They didn't know know they were going to run the module. We had too many players. So there were a lot of reasons why that game wasn't fun. And at the end of that game, as I'm tweeting and talking to people, everyone's like, why didn't you just leave? Like, you could have just got up and left at any time. And there was a part of me that's like, oh, I never thought about that. Like, it seemed like rude, I guess. Like, why would you do that? Why would you just get up and leave halfway through a game? And then I'm like, well, now I know that that's an option. If I'm really not enjoying the game, I'm just going to get up and walk away. And then in this game, I didn't, even though it crossed my mind. I was tweeting with you at the time, Brad, and it was right as my character got, DM fiat, you're unconscious, can't move, can't talk. And Brad's like, well, if you leave now, it's just going to look like you're being petty and, whatever. So I'm like, yeah, that's true. And this
you would have had an hour back of your life.
Too, because we did that. It was like about halfway through.
But you're petty and you get an hour.
Yeah. But there was a part of me, and again, I know this is going to sound arrogant as hell, but I was trying to make the game fun for the other players.
No, I know. Yeah.
So like the kid who was a little bit self-conscious, I would try to help him. Like when he was trying to do a thing, I would sort of bolster it, or again, I would kind of clarify so that the table would know what he's trying to do, so he could try to do his thing. Not that it mattered. And I was trying to make the game fun for other people, and I felt like if I left, it would have just got worse.
Codependency is real.
And I feel like the four of us, myself and three others, like we created a fraternity, a brotherhood and sisterhood, having survived that game together. It's like Band of Brothers. Like we went through that together. We came out the other side, and I'm sure if I ever see them again, there's going to be a moment of recognition of just, you were there. You were there.
You know the horror.
You know.
They know you got 10 extra hit points.
Yeah. What he didn't tell you is that applies to any game you play.
High five for 10 extra hit points.
Yeah.
So again, just to sort of try to salvage, it's okay to leave. I didn't. I probably should have. If you're just miserable, just make your excuses. You do the thing like, oh no, mom's calling, or I forgot I have another event, whatever.
This is my favorite game, but I can't make the next one.
I can't.
This game is too good for me. It's not me, it's you.
My hand hurts from all these rolls you've let me make.
Yeah, I'm getting carpal tunnel. But it's okay to walk away.
Yeah.
You pay money to go to Gen Con. You pay money to eat there, your ticket, your hotel. It is totally okay to salvage and say, you know what, this is just not the game for me, and walk away. So don't do what I did. Just walk away.
Don't be a hero.
If you,
Unless you want a great, terrible story.
But if you're running games,
don't just sit down and pretend like they know that you're out there.
Yeah.
They don't know you're out there. So you got to be upfront with this guy and just say it. I'm leaving.
Yeah,
it's you.
But if you're running a game
and knock loud,
the players need to play as soon as possible. Within 5 minutes of sitting at the table and saying, okay, we're ready to start, the players need to be making choices, and those choices need to mean something. If the DM didn't want us to interact with that person, there's other ways that you could do it. We could have found them and they didn't have the information we needed, or maybe we found who we thought it was and it wasn't actually them. We follow the tracks and it leads to someone else. It's not that person, but at least we feel like we're controlling the story. I feel like the only reason that person was there is because we were wasting time in this village when he clearly didn't want us to be in the village.
Out of the tavern.
Yeah, have us follow him into the woods, because it turned out, actually, again, I forgot this part too, that person that we saw was one of the raiders. So he was one of the raiders in the swamp. So that would have been a perfect way to get us in the swamp. We follow him into the swamp. Then it would make a lot more sense when they attack us, because
they trapped you.
They trapped us. It was
You
part
fell
of
for his elaborate trap.
Yeah. So everything we did or tried to do could have worked with minimal difference to the DM's plans, but it would have felt so much different to us at the table, and our ability to interact with the rules and have agency in the game and frankly have fun. Even like, I don't have to succeed. I like failing. I think failing is fun. But I didn't fail in this game because I didn't do anything. I had no choice. I had no ability to do anything other than to piss the DM off, which then I got my character punished for. Success.
You failed at picking the right game.
I did. And again, this was like my top game I was looking forward to going in.
Crushed.
Probably because of the rave reviews it got for part 1.
I wish the other people had signed up for part 2 also. That you let the players make choices, and even if it falls apart, like clearly the DM wanted this to be this great love story, we could have screwed that up, and we could have had the enemy like, well, because of your actions, unfortunately, that the hero of yore was not restored, and the village is still engulfed by the swamp. We'll try again next year. Like, there'll be a part 3 now. That would have been a much better game experience than just you sit there and listen to me tell you how great this story is and how one of you made a choice, which was just like a conversation to say yes or no, which we were kind of forced into doing anyways, to get to the end, and then have this person show up and take care of all of our problems. It was literally every single choice that DM made at the table, in my opinion, was the wrong choice, and it would have been so easy to change and make it a fun game for us. So that's the only reason why I wanted to share the story, though Michael really enjoys hearing it. I think there's lessons learned there. Play with as many DMs as you can. Try out games. Learn, emulate what you want to try to emulate, avoid what you want to avoid, and learn to read the table, because that's probably the number one thing this DM did not do, because it was very evident on at least my face that this was not going well. Maybe you take a time out, call an audible, and readjust. So, having heard that story, Michael, anything you would like to add?
So it's the big thing. So like, I'm a GM with like people that I've been playing with forever, people that have no problem telling me exactly what I'm doing wrong, which I really appreciate. So Obviously, what's the huge mistake?
Anything that you guys did in that whole thing didn't make a lick of difference. You were there to be told a story, not create a story. As GM, this is to all the GMs in the world. I say this with like a grain of salt, but like it's not your story. It's the player's story. You're just there to be an arbiter and part of it. If there's 5 people at the table, you're 1/5 of the story.
And not only do we get not having choices, when we tried to make choices, we were punished for them,
Negative.
and negative and chided. You know, like I think that made more sense tactically. I think it did make more sense. I'm not a great tactician. Maybe it would have made more sense for us to stay where that place was for some reason.
No.
But if not, make it harder. You know, and say, you know what, because you're not there, footing's gonna be different. I'm gonna give you disadvantage. You got -2, but still let us roll. Still let's make choices. Still let's have a chance to succeed. We were just punished for doing something the DM didn't want us to do until we were defeated, and then he caused the NPCs to run away because he couldn't stop his story because we had to be there at the end. It's like we couldn't have failed and we couldn't have succeeded.
Yeah,
we were just passengers.
You listened to a story. Also, can you do that face that you do when he's asking, "Are you sure you want to do that?"
Oh, are you sure?
I,
Are you sure?
I
you
love
want
that. I love that face.
Wait, you want to do that? All right, so Rocky, anything you would add there for?
When you first told Michael and me this story, I remember we were talking about it, and we're like, why didn't he just do this? Why did he do this? And I remember when we were talking about it, and I had said, what if he had just changed it and said, you walk in the back door of the castle, and you see the back of the most beautiful woman you've ever seen, and she turns around and says, what are you doing? Like, just something that simple. But, I mean, it just goes with what you're saying with, like, when you were in the swamp, if he really wanted to punish you for not going to the swamp area thing, he could have just said, one horseman just barrels through you guys in your sleeping bags, like just tramples you.
Yeah, because we're not supposed to be there.
Yeah. You can't. He's not even a bad guy.
You're just in the way.
Yeah.
We're sleeping on the I-90 interchange. Like, you don't do that.
Don't sleep on I-75.
But yeah, like you can't roll out of the way to dodge because then you're in the quicksand or you're
in the fire.
Lost.
Yeah.
Like either one.
You
So
roll dodge, you succeed.
I mean,
Take the triple damage.
I think the only thing did it finish on time though?
Yeah.
So there's that. You didn't take everything from the thing because obviously the guy knows what he's doing with timing his story.
Yeah, pacing was top notch.
But yeah, I think just about anybody that listens to the podcast is going to know like all the things he did wrong and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, at least he ran it.
Because they've all been there as players in that same.
Yeah.
At least he ran it, and hopefully he learned from it. And who knows?
Hopefully,
we'll see. We won't see, but
yeah. Well, maybe next year I'll seek out his game again.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to.
No, please
I'm not
don't.
that big of a glutton. All right, Brad. So anything you would add from to that story?
No. I mean, that was.
Just gonna let
You know,
it
the
first.
second upon hearing it the second time, it just brought me out even further.
Yeah.
It's, like,
It's been so long, I've forgotten some of the details. I don't know if this
I
telling was
remember
as
everything.
as
You
good
didn't
as
forget them so
you
much as
pretty
you
much-
blocked them out.
You pretty much hit everything out of that. And it's like, oh.
and you
That's
added
terrible.
the story about the sword. We didn't know about the sword.
Oh, you know what?
We thought you had no guide.
No.
No. You told
You
me
just
about
had to
the
follow the
sword.
No,
railroad.
you didn't
we
tell me
thought.
about exposition the first time.
Oh, I did tell you. Yeah.
I mean, we could look up
This
the
is my
Twitter to
favorite
see because he
sword
was doing a play-by-play.
Yeah. Yeah,
Alright.
that was just absolutely.
I have to speak in
I'm sorry.
sentences longer than one.
I did walk out of I did leave a Star Wars game at GenCon one time for something very, very similar.
And he
that
loves
was-
Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello, at Force and Destiny. I mean,
At Force and Destiny.
Before Force and Destiny was a thing, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still feel bad about that.
Yeah.
you shouldn't.
Stolen.
No.
I know.
Yeah.
I still do.
No one has approached him to buy it, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, get on that.
Get on
Yeah.
that.
Fantasy Flight, what
Come
are you
on,
doing with your life?
Lucas.
Yeah, it's
Brad
worth
has
at least
kids or
$15.
Lucasfilms or
Buy his
whatever.
badge for Gen Con next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Ryan, anything you would add to that?
It sounds like that guy was so engrossed with the first part of his story that he forgot everything from part 2. Like, he forgot just how to be decent in part 2. He was like so thrilled. It gave you a 30-minute exposition on how great his players were in part 1 because I bet they did everything that he wanted them to do. And guess what? Games don't go that way. Like, you don't. In my view, you have a storyline, you write the story, and then you plan you should plan your game on everything that you don't expect to have happen, because then you will be prepared. And clearly, this guy didn't know how to do that. He didn't know how to plan for anything other than his railroad.
Yeah,
And,
anything we did that he didn't plan for, he had no desire or ability to react. It was, that's not what I wanted, so it's wrong. I'll either bypass it or punish you for it.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say that the guy probably has never heard of, seen, or been told what improv is. I mean, like, I don't know.
And I don't want to be ageist, but he was older than me. I'm sure he's been GMing for 30 years, and I think there is a mentality with some older gamers where it is more of a, this is a challenge that has to be overcome rather than a story that has to be experienced.
Well, if he's been doing that for 30 years, oh my God, I feel sorry for other people for 30 years.
He did mention at one point in time that he used to write for TSR when Gary Gygax was running the company. So he's been around for a while.
So like there is a way to play it that way, and the way to do that is like I'm doing a game on like online with that right now. It's like a mega dungeon, but in the description, the caveat is like, this is not for role play. Don't join this if you want to role play. This is for combat.
Prepare.
And
combat competition.
And combat competition and comedy.
Right.
And like that's the way you frame it that way, and then you don't get somebody who loves role play, and because there are players out there that are really new or don't care about that's not the way they game. Like they don't care about the role play. They care about like being told, but like being part of a story that is being told. Like I know gamers out there that are like that wouldn't have been the worst game that they ever.
Oh yeah.
The worst game that they've ever been a part of is like something that I ran that's like 90% role play, and like I'm talking about the ribbons that are in some girl's hair because it's important later for some intrigue, and like that's the worst game that they've ever played. So I don't want to take that away from them, but
and at the end of the day, he ran games for a company. Yeah. He did tell us that he wasn't supposed to run that particular session. Someone else got sick or wasn't able to do it, so he stepped up and ran an additional session, short notice. So I give people credit for doing it. They're trying to provide a game. They're trying to be a good person, a good GM, a good ambassador. And it just, again, maybe it was just me. Maybe everyone else at the table was having fun. I don't think so, but maybe, and it just wasn't my play style. So probably at the end of the day, what I would say is the description should have been better, or at least when he stepped in should say, this is how I run games. Mm-hmm. And, just lay it out there, Front Street.
In saying that, though, I hope that what happened was he was so focused on, he has this overarching, I know what the story is supposed to be, that just a simple thing, like if he absolutely needed that guy to get away, he could have said he drinks a potion, you no longer see him. Then, obviously, you're going to try the old, I'm going to look for footprints, I'm going to throw flour in the air.
Yeah.
Okay, and then he does you hear someone drinking a potion, it sounds like, and then next thing you know, he's flown away. So now he's invisible and flying. Okay, it's horrible.
But it's still better than...
But at least it's better than just, he's gone,
Yeah.
roll. No, don't roll, like he's just gone.
Yeah.
Like, stop trying to find him. So that would have been something, and maybe he just didn't do that because he was so focused on trying to get the whole story and making sure it had to go his way, because he couldn't improvise because he didn't really know. He didn't have time to think about improvising because he was so focused on trying to run it and get the story out there, and hopefully.
So benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just a bad game for him. Maybe it was just different type of game than I was expecting. But hopefully anyone listening to this, if you listen to any of our shows, you know this is stuff we've talked about now for 5 years.
The sky's falling.
Yeah. Read the table and good description so people know what they're in for. Because if they don't want to be there for that game, then you don't want them there. Because they're not going to have fun. They're going to bring the whole table down. You want people at your table that want to be there, because that's going to make everything better. So with that, I think we've dwelled on the negative long enough. So we're going to do another final sign-off. This is Michael, the RPG Academy. You can find me at the RPG Academy. And I hopefully will see you in November at a CataCon. So bye, everyone. Awkward wave out. Bye-bye.